Hello and welcome everyone to Anfield Index. It's another edition of the Big Decisions podcast. I am filling in for Dave Davis. I am joined by Lou from Beyond the Cop YouTube channel. Thank you very much for joining me, mate.
Nah, don't be daft, man. I think I'm regular around here now. I seem to be cropping up more than Dave recently. So, no, thank you for having me. Very excited.
Yeah, you're welcome, mate. And Meds, we will be going through, as you can see from the title and the thumbnail. Me and Lou will be covering the transfer show tomorrow morning as well. That will be at 12 p.m. We've got the red room at 8 p.m. Obviously, Lou will be joining Grizz Khan on that episode with a couple of the up and coming Liverpool YouTube channels as well along the way. So that'll be more transfer talk on there. But Lou, we'll get straight into it. It's been a very chock-a-block a day. I know. I didn't want to change the agenda for what we'd already discussed, because I know you would have obviously done all your research anyway and had a little look at what we're talking about anyway. So, firstly, we'll start with Darwin Nunez in regards to Darwin Nunez. Interesting summer ahead. I know as well, everyone watching on the repeat or listening as well, we're expecting him to go, but Darwin Nunez staying or leaving this summer. Firstly, Lou, are you surprised that there hasn't been more interest in Darwin Nunez this summer beyond Napoli and Saudi Arabia this summer?
No, I think there's so many clubs out there now with where it's going to depend on this sort of striker domino effect of if Ekitike gets sold, what happens with Isak, and what happens to if Osimhen goes, do suddenly Napoli are more desperate to bring someone in? I'm not shocked that there's not as much interest, because there's a lot of other higher quality strikers that are out on the market at the moment for a fee that is around what we're trying to get for Núñez. And I think that there's been 3 years of collective data on Darwin Nunez. We've seen what he's good at, we've seen what he's bad at, and I don't think clubs are naive enough to go out and say, they're not going to do an Arsenal with Madueke, for example. They're not going to go out and go, here you go, here's 50, 60 million, we'll make it work. They're not going to do that. Not when you've got players like an Osimhen, like an Ekitike, like an Isak, who are available on the market, or not available, however you want to spin it, who are a bit more of a guaranteed success than Núñez. So I'm not shocked. I'm a little bit surprised of the fact that the only two teams and leagues that seem to be interested in Napoli and Saudi. I would have never thought in a million years that Antonio Conte's Napoli or Saudi Arabia were the only two options, but looking back, it doesn't surprise me too much, to be completely honest.
Spot on, mate. Chat, let us know as well. Get involved in the comment section below if you are watching on the repeat as well. Do let us know. It's and obviously, we'll speak about that a bit more tomorrow as well. And obviously, Grizz and the lads will mention this tonight as well. Obviously, money coming in and money leaving the football club. It's important, as we know, rotating a bit of the funds as well. So, in terms of off the back of that response from you there, Lou, what do you feel would be a reasonable fee for Darwin Nunez from the perspective of the player, the club, and the potential buyers? We've floated the fee of in and around 50 to 60, 70, 80 million. What do you feel is a correct fee?
Mate, I would have took Napoli's last bid, in all honesty. And it's not to disrespect Núñez, and I love the moments of pure euphoria that he's given me and given all of us, but we need to be realistic, man. He can come up in those big moments and score the big match winners and the back heels against Madrid and Brentford and Forest and Newcastle and etc, etc, etc. But there's 3 years of the miss against Aston Villa, the misses against Everton, the misses against Luton, the misses against Newcastle. I think we're pricing him out the market in the desperate hope that clubs are going to panic buy because they can't get their hands on an Ekitike or an Osimhen or those other players I mentioned. I honestly think Napoli's last bid, I personally would have took it. If we can hold out and get a higher amount for him, I'll eat my hat, because I'll be willing to admit that I was wrong. But I don't know about you, Matt. I think the last one was a fair amount.
Yeah, I think it was 43.5 million or in and around that park, £1 million.
Yeah,
well.
Going up to 50, I think, was at one point.
Yeah, it's probably the opportunity, when you buy a striker so young. I think obviously with Ekitike now on the market. Obviously, speak about that a bit later on in the episode as well. But it's, I think the resellability is possibly there as well. But I think off the back of that as well, Lou, I think it is a realistic scenario where Liverpool could keep Darwin Nunez. Can with that, and then there's two questions. Can Arne Slot improve him? But I think you might have alluded to it already. But is there a world where a realistic scenario where Liverpool keep him potentially? I know we've had a chocolate busy day with Isak and Ekitike, but is there a world for you personally?
Yeah, there's always going to be that world. This isn't like a sort of Núñez's departure isn't a case of the club don't like him, we don't like it. It's not like he's sort of being forced out the door. I just don't think he necessarily fits Slot's system. But if it's a case of, obviously what's happened, everything with Jota, we are incredibly short through the middle up top now. It may be a situation where we go out and sign like a big, like world-beaten number 9, say Ekitike or Isak, and rather than going out and spending more money on a backup, maybe Núñez could be the rotation option. I think it all depends what he wants. If he's dead set on the move, if he's wanting to go somewhere for regular first team football, there's nothing you can do about it. But until we get someone in, until we've solved that big gap up top, there's always going to be the possibility of Darwin Nunez sticking around for a 4th season. It's not what I personally want. But I've seen a lot of people who have changed the narrative because of what happened at the Preston North End game at Deepdale Road. So many people have suddenly become, look what he can do. Look what he scored a hat-trick against RB Leipzig in the season we signed him in the pre-season that season. Yeah. One game does not a career make. He has a skill set that benefits Liverpool, but that skill set is shown so few and far between in Slot's system. And while I do think he should go, I can see a world where he does potentially stick around, not because we want him to, but because we've got no other choice.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Vance has said they really think Elvery's management have to take the loss with Núñez, in his opinion. 45, 50 million would do it for him. We paid like 80 million. No one will pay that. Besides, it's similar to what you mentioned, mate, as well. Yeah. Would you concur with that coming from with that, Lou? Or
yeah, look, I agree. I understand that we've had players like Solanke and Jordan Ibe and Vandenberg, Carvalho in recent memory, who we've signed for cheap. We've sold them for much higher than they're worth, let's be honest. But this isn't one of those situations. This isn't like those 4 players that I mentioned where there was potential for them to go on, so you can't expect big bids because you don't know what they're going to go on to achieve. Like I said, we've got 3 years of Darwin Nunez's track record in the Premier League. Some of it's not all bad. He's on 50-plus goals and assists for those 3 seasons. That's brilliant. He's a Premier League winning striker now who's come up in big moments. But it is one of those situations where, look, you're just going to have to accept your losses. We've done it in the past. We've done it with the likes of Naby Keita. We just accepted that he was never going to recoup anywhere near what we paid for him, let the contract run out and move on. This feels like one of those situations. If you want to... If you're waiting for a club to come in and pay what we did for Darwin Núñez, like the best example I can think of for us in recent memory was Christian Benteke. We held out until the very last minute until Palace matched what we paid Aston Villa. We got lucky with that because he wasn't worth that amount when we sold him. You're not going to get that with Núñez. No one is going to go out and spend that amount of money that we signed Núñez for after 3 years of track record in the Premier League, when you could use that money to sign an Ekitike, you could sign an Osimhen, you can sign other players with proven track records of a higher standard. So I agree with the sentiment. Just at this point, chalk it up to what it is. He gave us some great moments, but it's not going to work. Let's just get him gone while the memories are still happy. I don't want to see it drag on.
Yeah, and this is big decisions as well, chat. So if you're new to the podcast, obviously Dave has a variety of guests on. Lou's already been on. I've been on at the beginning when I first started as well. And yeah, so you've got to straight to the point, as always, from Lou anyway, in regards to the big decisions. So the final big decision with Lou here is coming to the start of the season, Lou. You think Darwin Nunez will be a Liverpool player?
What do we class that? Do you class the Community Shield as the start?
Or I rephrased that. Come what the end of the transfer. Sorry, Riz. come at the end of the transfer window currently, and then when we are deeper into the season, because I think technically the transfer window still open, isn't it, when the new season's on?
Yeah, because it goes till the 1st of September, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. So
yeah,
come at the end of the window, will Núñez still be a Liverpool player for you?
I think I'm acting more with my heart than I think my brain. I don't think he will, based purely on the news from today. I think that's us sort of saying, look, you're not going to be the main man going forward. There has to be change, and I fully expect Núñez to be gone by the end of the window. But there's a tiny 5% part of my brain that's thinking, you know what, he could still be here. He could be like a Veruca. We could not get rid of him. I don't know, but I hope for his career that he does move on, and I fully expect them to. But there's a little shred of me that can see him staying beyond this summer window, to be honest.
So is that a yes or a no?
That was a bit on the fence, weren't it?
I think we're going.
Yeah, I think he's gone. I don't see him being a Liverpool player next season beyond the window.
There we go. Spot on, mate. Chat. So there we go. If you are watching on the repeat, let us know your thoughts on Darwin Nunez. It is, as Lou's alluded to, I think all of us Liverpool fans, we are collectively disappointed, not in regards to him. We want to see him do well. We want him to be banging in 20, 30 Absolutely. Goals. We want to be in a world where we don't have to be thinking about a Nekatike or an Isak, really, but it is what it is. Sometimes transfers do work out and sometimes they don't. Not every transfer is a huge success, but the large majority, as we know at Liverpool, 95% under this, obviously Michael Edwards and the lads, but the main thing is Liverpool, we are to lose him, as Lou said tonight, is we get good value, and if he is to go to another club and be successful, I think all of us will be with a lot of love and admiration and be made up if he's doing well in another league as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so as we said at the beginning of the chat, obviously I didn't want to change too much the agenda as well, but in terms of another striker that has been linked, it's a Frenchman. It's not Ekatike. We've got the final closing section of the podcast to speak about him. But Jean-Claude Mateta has been linked with Liverpool. Is he the right fit? So in terms of Jean-Philippe Mateta has been linked, Lou, this week. What are your thoughts on this rumour in general, really, from your point of view?
See, I did a live yesterday on my channel, and I was very I swayed myself, in all honesty. I'm easily swayed, man. Just call me the media, I suppose. But I think signing Jean-Philippe Mateta works if it's in the right context. And what I mean by that is you don't sign a Jean-Philippe Mateta to be your starter week in, week out. You sign Mateta as a capable backup to whoever your main attacker is, because you go through the annals of Liverpool's Premier League history. You look at Emil Heskey, Peter Crouch, Luis Garcia, Divock Origi, these players who have been able to offer something completely different to whatever the main focal attacker is offering. You need a Mateta who is very much someone who you need to throw the kitchen sink at the opposition's defence. You get Mateta on. He's terrific in the air. He's a physical powerhouse who will shoot from any angle. We saw that goal against Arsenal a few months ago. He's someone who can add a different dimension to Liverpool's play. And that's why Jota endeared himself so well amongst the fan base, because you bring him on, he'd cause problems in the air and he would get you a late goal like he did against Fulham, like he did against Forest. You need those players who play a different style, because when that style's not working, you need to throw the kitchen sink at other teams. And Mateta, while he's poor on the ball, while he's not a good dribbler, while he is just pretty much a lumbersome powerhouse, I'm all for having that type of player in this squad, because you need that diversity up top. If you can't find space in behind, you need that lanky bastard you can stick in that team and expect them to get on the end of balls crossed into him. So I'm all for, and for what, £30 million? Mate, FA Cup winning, 30 goals across the last 2 seasons. It's a bargain for me, and I'm all for it, to be honest.
And as you said, loves a goal against Arsenal as well. That's always
Does,
good,
yeah.
when you're playing Arsenal, especially just looking at the fan base, especially over just the last week as well. But I forgot to mention, obviously, you've been making some mates with Newcastle fans, haven't you? I forgot to, I see. But we'll mention that in the end section anyway. Not just you, but me. Even the show today, there was a lot of very happy Geordies, to say the least, anyway. But unlucky lads, anyway. So, so in terms of the next question, with regards to Mateta, Lou, could Arne Slot improve a player like Mateta, given his track record that you did allude to? I think that's one of the best skill sets about Arne Slot as a manager, as we've already seen since his time in England. Do you think you can get the best out of him, or like adapt into the Liverpool system for you?
No, and I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily. Not every player who comes in has to fire on all cylinders and perfectly fit the mold of what Arne Slot wants. Because if that was the case, there'd be no risk in your signings. I know what I'm trying to say here, and I sound like I'm coming off really bad, but I don't think he can improve him, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because he's someone who you don't need to come in and improve to fit your system and play as a week in, week out. Like I said, he's just someone you can bring on for a different viable option. That's why Divock Origi was so successful for us from the late 2010s into the early, like when he left, because he offered you something different to Firmino and Mane and Salah. He was a physical presence in the box, and I don't think Slot needs to improve Mateta because his skill set is already terrific. He's someone who you don't need to give him a lot of touches of the ball. You don't need him to be the most mobile. You just need him to be in the right position. And if you look at his goals from last season, at least 4 of them are tap-ins from Eze doing all the hard work. He just knows how to position himself. He can score from distance. He's capable in the air. You need that type of player, and I don't think Slot needs to improve him to the standard of, what we saw with Salah last season, or Diaz, or a Gakpo, or a Jota. He doesn't have to be this come-deep ball, progressive playing central attacker. We just need him to go up top and cause problems. And not every backup needs to be like a Julian Alvarez level. Sometimes I'm fine with the Peter Crouch on the bench. I'm fine with the Emil Heskey, that person who you can lump the kitchen sink at and just get them to get a result. I don't think Slot will improve him, but I don't necessarily think he needs to, in all honesty.
Spot on, bud. So there we go. And the final one. Oh, there's 2 more questions. Do apologise there, mate. if Isak, hypothetically, this is as well, Leo, in chat, before everyone in chat jumps at me. Hypothetically, if Isak and Hugo Ekitike are off the table, who do you see as the perfect striker for Liverpool this summer?
Oh, well, I mean, I've said Julian Alvarez now for weeks and weeks. I would love Julian Alvarez.
Anyone that you'd add to the list as well alongside him, or for you?
It's really, I mean, not particularly. There's no one who I can really sort of pinpoint and think you'd be amazing for us up top. It's just, I think the strikers market's so slim. Like Gyökeres, I wouldn't want. Osimhen, as much as I think he's a talented player, the wages are going to be astronomically high. No, it's got to be Alvarez, Ekitike, or Isak, to be honest. They're the only ones that I can really look at and think you'd perfectly fit our system. So I know people were linking us to like Nkunku, and I know Nicholas Jackson and stuff was getting linked. No, it's not for me. I think Alvarez is probably the main one I'd want, even though I'm pretty sure he's going to spend the rest of his life at Atletico Madrid based on what we've heard. But yeah, he'd be my number 1 choice, if anything.
There we go. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting choice, as we know, chat. In regards to that, he's a top player. Mateta, as Lou's alluded to, could he come in? And I think he's spot on in his analysis. As you look at Peter Crouch, as Lou alluded to, Divock Origi, you need those. As you said there, Lou, it's impossible for any football club in European football to have like 6 elite level strikers. You need people that will not be happy and content but being on the bench, but being respectful about it and knowing more or less the hierarchy within the side, but having that hunger and the desire, most importantly, the personality as well, to not be an absolute nuisance on the bench, going to the media and all that, really, from from you, innit?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so there we go, chat. That was Jean-Claude Mateta, Philippe Mateta, apologies, chat. So could he come to Liverpool anyway? Possibly. You never know. A lot could develop in the next couple of weeks as well. Just the ever-changing merry-go-round of transfers with Liverpool as well. But Jav going, Ajak, Rodrigo and Isak for Liverpool. That would be ideal. Me and Lou will be doing a transfer show tomorrow, and there'll be a lot of talk as well, and certainly this evening as well with Lou and Grizz and the lads as well in regards to those two players, certainly. So Darwin, just from Lee. Obviously, going back on the other comments, Darwin will be good. Coming at the end of the transfer window, same as Diaz. I think both of them want to go, and hopefully we'll get some top class replacements. Yeah, I think Lee, you might be slightly behind on the video, but fair enough, mate. Obviously, people might tune in, but obviously referring to Darwin Nunez, the last section as well. And the final one, as we go into the last one, and this will obviously lead us into the final questions as well. What would the odds of Isaac? Right, we'll get to that one, Vance. I get Lou's comments on that in regards. So, Lou, chock-a-blocker, Newcastle today. Newcastle fans, do you want a bit of story time for anyone that doesn't follow you on social media? It was the comment section or the TikTok section that
Mate,
that's been going mad about
I
Isaac.
have never been. Comments don't bother me in the slightest. I think it's funny. Like, rip me all you want. I put up one TikTok yesterday saying that if you think that Newcastle are signing Ekitike to play as a rotation to Isak or play alongside them up top and they're going to change the whole system and lose the midfield free, like, you're wrong. I got absolutely, I cannot describe the amount of stick I got. My girlfriend's in the hospital at the minute and I went and I was talking to her about it. She pissed herself, mate. There was no, some of them were horrific. You can't.
People don't have a filter though, mate, do they? It's like they wouldn't say that to you or anyone that does social media. Like I remember I done a Jude Bellingham video ages ago and I had Real Madrid fans, Dortmund fans, and even Everton fans. Everton fans turn up from anywhere, don't they? Anyway, so but yeah, so don't worry about it, bud. It's only opinion.
Oh, mate,
like it's people just lose their absolute mind as well. Yeah. But you know what we're gonna do now, Lou? And chat, if we're going to speak about Isaac and Ekitike, potentially one of them, or maybe two of them, could come to Liverpool. So, this is Liverpool. Newcastle are reportedly bringing in Hugo Ekitike. This is obviously based on the agenda of last night as well. Lou, do you think this move will personally happen for you in regards to Hugo Ekitike to Newcastle United?
It's so dependent on what happens with Isak. It's clear to me, personally, and I think it's clear to a lot of people, that Ekitike is not the number one target for us. It's clearly Alexander Isak. Whether or not he goes to Newcastle, Ekitike, I think is dependent on whether or not we get Isak. Because if we don't get Isak, from what I read in reports, Newcastle offered around 70 million, but they know there's another club that have said we will pay 85 for Ekitike, which I think says release clause or there or thereabouts. So, in my mind, given everything that's gone on today, I think that's us. Logic would dictate that it's us who have submitted that offer. If we don't get Isak, I think we get Ekitike based on this. If we do get Isak, Ekitike goes to Newcastle. It's a very sort of standoffish situation, and Ekitike is sort of stuck in the middle. So he will be going to one of the two clubs. It just depends first on whether or not we can get Isak. Is my political answer to this question, to be honest, because I don't know, mate. It can go one or two ways. It can either go in the bin. Yeah. Or the way that I think majority of us are hoping it goes, and that is Alexander Isak wearing the number 7 up, the number 9 up top. My apologies.
Yeah, so but it's the main one, and this is what sent my head and the majority of Liverpool fans laughing on social media. Is can you see Ekitike playing in a 2-man forward line under Eddie Howe, or is that just a load of PR spin for you?
Mate, there's no chance that Ekitike is being brought in to work alongside Isak. People were pitching like 3-5-3, not 3-5-3. That's not a formation. That's like Todd Bowley. That like 3-5-2 formations and spouting out all this. Well, we could go at the three at the back. That won't work because you've got Livramento, who's on his way up massively, and they signed Lewis Hall recently, who's been getting a lot more game time. If they go, oh, well, we're going to play two strikers up top, so you've just signed a Langer for £55 million, so is he not going to play? Is Gordon going to lose his position? Are you going to get rid of Harvey Barnes or Jacob Murphy? No. It will not work. The only rationale they have for it is because they don't want to lose Alexander Isak. And if you think Ekitike is going to be going to Newcastle, content to be in a rotation role around Alexander Isak, who's clearly not going to get dropped because he's the better of the two strikers, it will not work. Newcastle are trying to bring in someone as quick as they can before the offers for Isak come in because they know he probably will move on. They know he probably wants to move. I get it that he could play up top. He did it with Wilson. But when you were doing that, you didn't have Anthony Gordon putting out the numbers that he was putting out. You didn't have Anthony Elanga just signed. You didn't have Jacob Murphy playing the way he is. You didn't have Harvey Barnes at the time. The whole system changed, and that midfield three of Guimaraes, Tonali, and Joel Linton is too important. We saw what they did to us in that Carabao Cup final, mate. They
ran us off the park, didn't they?
Exactly. They are not going to sacrifice that just to fit Ekitike alongside Isak. It's not that at all. He's clearly being brought in as their new number 9 for when Isak inevitably moves on. And that I might be wrong. I don't know anything. I probably play too much Football Manager. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me personally.
No, you are correct, and I agree. And I think the majority, 99.9% of Liverpool's fan base out there, agree with your mate as well. Just chat. If you got social media, just type Isak Newcastle into your feed and just enjoy the night. That's a bit of entertainment anyway. I've had numerous messages, as I said already, on the transfer pod today. Off me Newcastle mates going, all right, you won't leave. But the next question I'll ask you in regards to Newcastle United, in terms of obviously Ekitike in for Newcastle and possibly Isak out to possibly Liverpool as well. With this transfer in regards to Ekitike, Newcastle expect a big money sale of Isak. Do you think the PSR will play a massive part in regards to both of these deals and beyond for Newcastle? Because I think you might have slightly touched on it before, but they can't continue to keep on spending. Can they? For you?
I mean, I want to get up, or I want to get Newcastle's transfers, like their all-time Premier League transfers, just for the past few seasons. Because to be fair, I don't think they're particularly close in terms of breaching the rules, because I'm sure for like a season or two, they really did go under the radar and didn't spend too much. So last season, this is in euros, so they spent 68.2 because they signed Lewis Hall, Osula, and Odysseas Vlachomidos. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that one. Yeah. The season before, they spent 148 million. The season before that, they spent 185 million, 130 before that. You know what? You've got to think that they probably are teetering on that border. And they've just signed Elanga for 55 million. There's no one else in that squad who really represents a high value. They're also linked to James Trafford at the moment, who I heard rumours he was around 40 million pounds. That's 90 million with no recoup, not to mention this Ekitike deal. They are going to have to sell, and the only players that you can really look at and think you're worth a high fee, Tonali, Gordon, Isak. Tonali's not going to go anywhere. Anthony Gordon, maybe, depending.
Livramento, possibly?
Livramento, yeah. Livramento's a good shout. Maybe Lewis Hall. But there's no sort of anyone who's worth value is too important to their team where they're not going to get rid of him. And the same could be said for Isak. But he represents such a high fee that you will recoup, that you're paying off the past. You're paying off all your signings of this window so far. So if they sell him, that's 150 million quid. That covers last summer plus the players that you've just signed this year. I think they'd be daft not to look at potentially doing it. And like you say, they must be close to teetering on the edge, because all scrutiny is going to be on them and all eyes are going to be on them after the takeover.
Yeah.
And I can see a world where after they sign Ekitike, they think, right, we got to balance the books here, lads. And Isak's the best way to do it. 120 to 150 million pounds.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer if you're that confident in Ekitike.
Could it be a possible similar situation with Liverpool with Coutinho a couple of years back?
Yeah, exactly.
You have to sacrifice one of your big players to overall improve that squad.
Yeah. Mate, it's got to be done. Like we did it with Suarez as well. We just spent the money very poorly when we signed like Markovic and Lambert and Chan and Balotelli, etc., etc.
Really? We've come a long way.
Tottenham did it. Yeah, we have come a long way. Tottenham did it as well when they sold Bale. Like you've got to break a few eggs to make an omelette. And if Newcastle signing like the transfers, like you say, over the past 2 seasons, you've had Lewis Hall, you've had Asula, you've had Anthony Elanga, you've had James Trafford potentially, Sandro Tonali, Harvey Barnes. If you're set losing Isak to sort of recoup the money you've made for them, you're losing a massive component of your team, undeniably. But financially, from that aspect, there's little complaints that can be had.
Yeah, 100%, mate. So in terms of the final question as well, Lou, opposed to you, and opposed to chat as well, with all that included, as you mentioned, with Ekitike, your Newcastle and everything, do you think there's a real chance? This is obviously agenda was done last night, but it's very relevant tonight. That a real chance that Isak ends up at Liverpool this summer? Yes,
and I think I'm a very, I want to say passionate fan and probably deluded at points as well, but I think now that the initial conversation's been had, now that there has been the discussion of us approaching Newcastle, there could be a world where Isak says, right, I want to make the move. And I think if he does that, if he forces the issue, the price is going to stay at that 120 million mark, and we've made it very clear that we're willing to pay it. I think there is every possibility that we can do that because he's clearly our number one. We're going to lose Núñez potentially for around 50. Diaz has obviously got the buy-in links. I can see a world where he wholeheartedly comes to us. I think it just depends on what he wants to do. If he's happy at Newcastle, I think we get Ekitike. If he wants to make the move, if he wants to step up to the best club in England, please do. I think he comes to us. There's every possibility that we make this move for Isak and assert ourselves, prove to everyone why we're back on our perch and why we are the greatest club in English football history. And signing Isak, it just confirms it, man.
Weight behind him, lad. Not too bad, is it?
I mean, look,
or even on the left wing, that would be special. like Salah up front, Isak possibly, Gakpo, Waits. That's ridiculous.
It's the best. If we get Isak, this is the best summer window we have had in the Premier League era, bar none. Like, you can make the case for 99, you can make the case for 2018-19, 17-18, and a push. This will be the best, bar none at all.
Yeah, so there we go. Lou, confirming on big decisions, Liverpool will be getting Isak. Happy days. So, Reds, fingers crossed. And me and Lou will be covering the transfer show tomorrow, midday, 12 p.m. Make sure you do tune into that as well. Lou, you'll be live in 25 minutes, but it's a perfect time. You will be on the Red Room. But just shout out, obviously, your channel as well, buds, and where everyone can find you as well, please.
Right. So, while I'm dwelling in my little cave, it's Beyond the Cop. It's top 10. I do top 10s, I do live streams, I do everything. I'm close to 5,000 subscribers now. So if everyone who's watching this, please come over and subscribe. It helps out massively. I want to do this full time and you get to listen to me talk absolute wham for a living. Yeah, Beyond the Cop. It's on the screen at the bottom because I keep forgetting to change it. But yeah, it'd really, really, really be appreciated. So thank you, Jack, for letting me plug that. Really do appreciate it, man.
Oh, good, mate. No, it's we have plenty of people involved with Anfield Index, but as I said, Lou said at the top of the show, and we spoke about already this season, Lou will be doing plenty of shows this season coming up, so we're looking forward to that. But Reds, that's been the big decision. Jack McIndoe and Lewis Aspinall as well this evening. Dave's still on Aussie, but Dave, if you're watching, mate, hope you're not watching. Hope you're enjoying your holiday. Yeah, have a lovely holiday, mate. But Eds, look after yourself, and everyone, look after yourself. And fingers crossed, Alexander Isak will be coming to Liverpool. hit that subscribe button down below to keep up to date on all things Liverpool. And that has been Big Decisions on Anfield Index. Ta-ra, that's